Hello friends, today we will study about Protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism. Let us start now. It was the Weber's most famous work and he finished it in 1904-5, almost more than 100 years ago. Only in this study he applied all his four methodologies. We have already covered these four methodologies in previous lectures of Weber. Before Weber's work, it was known that the Protestantism and capitalism are interconnected. For example, Friedrich Engels had argued that the rise of Protestantism in Europe was a response to rise of nascent capitalism. Protestantism served the role of legitimizing capitalistic exploitative economic system. To some extent it is true. Why? Because capitalism rose in 14th century and Protestantism in late 16th century. From Marxist point of view, the rise of capitalism as antithesis against the feudalism led to the change in economic structure that led to change in superstructure. So here economic structure, that means base of any society, and superstructure means different institutions that are built on the base. We have already covered these terms in Marx lectures. So let us move forward. Change in superstructure so as to preserve the capitalism, which included religion also. So religion was part of superstructure. Similar case in India also, when trade and commerce emerged. Protest against Brahmanism led to the rise of Jainism and Buddhism. Marx saw the rise of Protestants as allying force of capitalism. Wealthy businessmen and skilled workers residing in urban areas were overwhelmingly Protestants, while rural people were Catholics. Now let us see about Protestantism in Europe. In 16th century, protest against Roman Catholic Church as priestly class became highly corrupt, orthodox, and against the rising trade and commerce ethos. Martin Luther in Germany started this protest against and called as a Reformation. Many sects developed in Europe who rejected the priestly class and adopted different way of life that was against the dogmas of church. For example, Puritans in England, Lutherans in Germany, and Calvinists in Switzerland. Weber argued that accumulation of wealth is an ancient phenomenon. Since ancient times, economic conditions existed in China and India, but modern form of capitalism did not rise. It developed first in Western Europe only. Special about Europe was the interconnectedness between religion and economic activity on a rational ethical line. Pursuit of economic goals considered desirable and just, and not because of greed. Economic growth was seen as very desirable, ethically driven instead of greed driven. This type of economic activity emerged for the first time in Western Europe. Now let us see how did Protestants contribute to the rise of modern capitalism. Weber went through the Writings of Protestants, scholars, and reformers. Westminster Confession, Richard Baxter's book, the Christian Diary, Benjamin Franklin works, his two famous book, Necessary Hints to Those That Would Be Rich and Advice to a Young Tradesman. He also surveyed the teachings of various sects, Calvinism, Methodism, Baptism, etc. Weber also used the comparative studies of countries like China and India. Based on above exhaustive studies and analysis, Weber developed an ideal type of Protestant ethic, primarily based on the Calvinist doctrine of predestination. Weber's choice was guided purely by the convenience in the demonstrating a link between Protestantism and capitalism. So let us see the various important aspects of Protestant ethic. Asceticism, abstinence from the life's pleasure. It produced individuals who worked hard in their careers, calling with a single-minded pursuit. Industry and frugality. The money earned was not to be spent on luxuries or entertainment, but in glory of God, which meant reinvesting profits in the business. Attacked time wasting, laziness, idle gossip, and excessive sleep. Sports and recreation only for improving fitness and health. Condemned if pursued for entertainment. Living life in terms of these guidelines signified that the individual had not lost the grace and favor in the sight of God. Weber also developed an ideal type of spirit of capitalism, which included the traits of early capitalists like risk-taking, profit-seeking, rationally and systematically, hard-working, frugal living, amassing wealth, and reinvesting ethically. Time is money, work is worship, punctuality, justice, etc. Weber argued that Protestantism, particularly Calvinism, was crucial to the rise of spirit of capitalism. Calvinism was based on inner worldly asceticism, such a religion doesn't reject the world. Instead, it actively urges its members to systemize their own conduct and work ethically within the world so that they can find salvation. Calvin's doctrine says that salvation is predestined. God has already decided who will get salvation, so no need of priest. Calvinism in this way rejected the role of priests and urged for ascetic attitude towards life. The only way to know is to work hard. Treat your work as God's given duty. Perform your task with devotion. Do not waste time in pleasure of flesh. Those who will succeed economically will get salvation. Thus, people were asked to engage in intense worldly economic activity and to become a man of vocation through ethical means. Thus, Calvinism produced an ethical system and ultimately a group of people who were intensively engaged in economic activity to get salvation. Protestants in this way developed the entrepreneur trades. This is how early capitalism developed, leading to the unlimited pursuit of economic gain in a rational and efficient way. It was the backing of the moral system that led to the unprecedented expansion of profit seeking. Calvinism had the highest ethical appreciation of sober middle class self made men. With such a workforce, the nascent capitalist could reach the labor exploitation to unprecedented height. Calvinism legitimized an unequal stratified system by giving the capitalist the comforting assurance that the unequal distribution of goods of this world has divine acceptance. Weber's study on China had competitive environment, precious metals, industrial and technological advancement, political stability, coinage system, but there were structural, social and religious barriers. The major difference between Europe and China was unique ethos of Protestantism. So we have to remember. The Confucianism, the major religion of China, emphasized on self-containment and accepting things as they were. It emphasized on a literary education as a prerequisite for office and for social status. Active engagement in profitable enterprise was regarded morally dubious and unwelcoming. Similarly, Taoism advocated otherworldly mysticism, which made the Chinese society irrational and non-innovative. Now let us see Weber's study on India. Structural barriers of caste system created overwhelming barrier to the social mobility, innovation and rationalization, and it tended to regulate and control even the most minute aspects of people's life. Hinduism largely emphasized highly literary kind of education, otherworldly asceticism. That means withdrawing from worldly activities. Similar was the case with Islam. It discouraged profitable enterprising culture. Mughal rulers were more concerned with military aspects than economic aspects. Nobility did not enjoy private property. Weber also argued that in India, gents had the similar ethic as Calvinist, Protestant, but the political and economic conditions in India didn't allow the growth of modern capitalism. Weber also argued that Calvinistic Protestantism was not just the sole factor which determined the emergence of capitalism. He said that there were other factors also, such as presence of technology, skilled labor, investment, political centralization, private property, market economy, rationalization of law, joint stock company, systematic accounting standards, etc. also played important role. Weber has also argued that along with modern capitalism, rationality also emerged. Since producing maximum possible profit required weighing different course of action and selecting the one which was likely to generate maximum profit. Weber distinguished between two forms of rationality. Formal rationality, best means to achieve given end calculation had to be in numerical form, and the substantive rationality, action designed to meet goals such as justice, equality, or human happiness. Capitalist behavior put primarily emphasis on formal rationality, and substantive rationality tends to fade away into the background. This rationality will not remain confined to capitalist system, but will lead to emergence of rational legal system, separation of home and workplace, rational financial management. In the rationalized world, it will be difficult for followers of religion to be able to maintain their faith. Weber says religion might continue to exist, but it will lose its social significance. Thus, Protestantism contributed to the growth of capitalism, which required a rational approach to social life, which would in turn undermine religion. Protestantism therefore contained the seeds of its own destructions. So these were the viewpoints of Weber. Now let us do critical evaluation of Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. Empirical studies have shown that wherever there is inner worldly asceticism, there will be capitalism. Studies have confirmed this on Zoroastrian, Sikhs, and Jains. R.S. Seveney argued that capitalism first developed in England, where there was no Calvinism, there were Puritans. Schomburg argued that Weber was mistaken about the belief held by Calvinists. According to Schomburg, Calvinism was against greed and the pursuit of money for its own sake. Weber countered this argument. He said that it was not important what beliefs of the Calvinists were, rather it was their behavior. The doctrine of predestination was not intended to produce rational pursuit of profit, but it was an unintentional consequence. Critics have also argued that there were areas of the world like Switzerland, Hungary, Netherlands, etc., where Calvinism was in majority, but capitalism emerged much later. Gordon Marshall dismisses this criticism. He says that Weber didn't claim that Calvinism was the only factor responsible for development of capitalism. In the case of Scotland, Marshall points out that they had the capitalist mentality but were held back by the lack of investment and skilled labor. Marxists argued that early capitalism preceded and largely determined Protestantism. Calvinism developed more in cities where commerce and early form of industrialization were already established. Critics have also argued that Weber's argument is talking about only supply side of capitalism and not demand side, consumerism, but development of capitalism requires both. The Protestant ethic is against the consumeristic lifestyle, which is very much required for growth of capitalism. Schomburg argues that another important factor was the colonization of Latin America by Spain and Portugal. Inflow of bullion, silver and gold played an important role in the development of international trade for Europe. Weber ignored these colonized aspects. Critics have also argued that non-conformist Calvinists devoted themselves to business because they were excluded from holding public office and joining certain professions such as law. Gunnar Myrdal has argued that colonial suppression acted as an obstacles for rise of spirit of capitalism and economic growth in India. So it's all about the topic of spirit of capitalism, Protestant ethics and spirit of capitalism. Okay, thank you very much.